Welcome to the Franchise Minute. This is Anna Wiles, the franchise economist. Today's Franchise Minute topic is restoration franchises. I think you'll be surprised by the variety and the segmentation that's going on in the restoration industry. If you're new to the Franchise Minute, this is our format. In just a moment, we'll watch a 60-second video on this topic, and then we will have live questions and answers. You ask the questions and I'll give the answers. And you can use the chat box or the comment section, whichever you have, depending on the social platform that you're viewing us on. Okay, we are now ready for the Franchise Minute. Welcome to the Franchise Minute. Hello, I'm Anna Wiles, the franchise economist. Today's topic is restoration franchises. What these services do is restore things to their original condition after they've been damaged. The damage could be fire, smoke, water, or mold. Things that need restoring are homes and commercial buildings after a fire or a weather event. Not only do the buildings need restoring, but also the items in the structure need it. The ductwork needs it. Items like furniture and artwork need it. Papers, electronics, and textiles need it. And there are franchises that specialize in each of these areas. Restoration franchises are a great fit for people who want a wonderful business that does well no matter what's happening in the economy. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the Anna Wiles YouTube channel and come back next Wednesday for another edition of the Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wiles, the franchise economist. Go ahead and put your questions to me. I'll be glad to answer them. I tell you, I am a tremendous fan of the restoration industry. It is a business that is always in demand. Things like politics, world events, economic cycles do not affect the restoration industry. The demand is there, and it will continue to be there. It is always there. So the first question we have is, what restoration franchises am I seeing is being really in demand right now? Well, just as I was saying, they're always in demand because they result from things like there's always going to be weather events that cause trees to fall on people's roofs during thunderstorms, and then rain comes in from the hole in the roof, and the homeowner is going to get their roof repaired. They're going to get the tree removed. They're going to make sure that the damage inside the house is taken care, is repaired, and the homeowner's insurance is going to pay for these services. I mean, it's just, you don't have to worry about getting paid, and you don't have to worry about the demand for these services, because turbulent weather always happens. Things like fires always happen. And when there's a fire, then there's typically water damage, smoke damage that happens because of that. And fires happen all the time. And so restoration services kick right in and help people restore not only the structure and the building, but also the contents. So if a building catches fire and the interior gets restored, well, you also know what else needs to be restored in addition to the contents? Well, the ductwork. So when you turn on the HVAC system, all the dust and water and things that have gotten into the duct system during the fire and the cleanup is also removed. Smoke, soot, ashes, all those sorts of things. So there's just a tremendous amount of need and demand for restoration services all the time. So what are really in demand? Also, not just the restoration, I want to focus a little bit more on not just the restoration of a building. That is people are very well aware of that. But there's also specialization within the restoration industry. So there are businesses and franchises that specialize in the restoration of just artwork, the restoration of electronics, the restoration of textiles, clothing, carpeting, upholstery, those sorts of things. There's a wonderful restoration franchise that I work with that does just furniture, things like leather, vinyl, um, and that sort of thing. So it's just a lot of segmentation within the restoration industry. And one of my favorite bits of advice to give people is this: there are riches in the niches. And so restoration can be a broad category where you can restore buildings, but you can also specialize in HVAC restoration and any of those other areas like electronics, furniture, etc. Okay, next question is, how much money can you make from a restoration business? Well, they do operate in the emergency space and they can command emergency space prices. I mean, these can be 24/7 businesses, but not necessarily. The most of the need for restoration service is going to come in the morning, okay, when the insurance office opens, and then they'll contact the restoration contractor and say, hey, we've had a fire put out over the course of the evening. Can you go to this address and do the restoration? So it's not going to happen hardly at all that there's a call in the middle of the night, even though emergencies, weather events, fires, things like that can happen in the middle of the night or on weekends. But again, remember, the call will come from probably an insurance agent or an insurance company or a plumber or another referral source. And that's typically, again, done during daytime, typical business hours. All right, so how much money can you make is going to depend on the individual performance of the owner of the restoration business. But the best way to get that information is to talk to a variety of franchisees of the franchise you're particularly interested in. So talking to franchisees is the single best way to find out how much money you can make from any given franchise, but then realize the financial performance of each individual owner is going to vary because it's going to depend on what? On their skills, their abilities, their good motivation, their goals, and their skill set. Okay, so not everybody's going to perform at the same financial level, but they should all be able to confirm or validate that the training, the support, the business model, the marketing strategy, all of that is excellent and it works if you do what you're trained to do. Okay, next question is this a really good time to get into restoration? Absolutely yes. There is no need, from my professional opinion, to time the entry into a restoration business. The need and the demand is going to be there all the time. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. It doesn't matter technological advancements. AI is not going to affect if someone has the need to have odor removal from their furniture after a fire because of all the smoke. Okay, it's just doesn't matter if we have rising interest rates, lowering of interest rates, or if there's a world event like one country invades another. Weather events, fires, water damage, they're all going to happen. Basements flood independent of politics and the economy. And like I said, the insurance for the building, for the home or the business is typically the one that covers the restoration of the building and the contents. It's a great business to get into, especially if you're very conservative, risk averse, want to go with more of a sure thing. Well, here's a great follow-up question. What about competition? I see a lot of big names already in this space. Well, that's true. And here's the thing: every franchise that I've ever recommended in the 20 years that I've been a franchise advisor, there's always competition, always. So, a couple of ways to look at that. One is, well, that lets me know that there's a need and demand in the market where you are for that product or service. To me, that's reassuring. I mean, think of how many places there are, for example, to get your hair cut where you live, how many ways there are for you to go grocery shopping, how many gas stations there are for you to fill up your car. There are a lot. There may be dozens or literally hundreds or thousands, depending on the size of your market. So just because there's competition there doesn't mean there's still great opportunity where you live. Okay, you just can't assume that the market is saturated. That would be, frankly, that would be foolish to make that assumption. You want to gather facts, figures, data, numbers. And you will do that from going through the franchise discovery process. And as a franchise advisor, I walk people through that process and help them every step of the way to help them get the facts and figures that they need to make a well-informed decision. So yes, there's competition out there, but that doesn't mean a market is saturated. And again, riches are in the niches. There's also segmentation. You can pick a specialty within restoration to pursue as well. And to help you figure out which is the best fit for you, that's what I do as a franchise advisor. I build people's business models, take their skills, interests, financial qualifications, the market where they want to be, and put all this and their goals for the business into a business model. And then once we construct the business model, then I go do extensive research on franchises and come back with matches for that person. And so we go through the same process if you're interested in a restoration franchise or just want to be open to what franchises may be a good fit for you. Okay, next question is, how much money does a restoration franchise cost? Well, they're very reasonably priced. They start around $100,000. I know that's a lot of money, but many franchises can cost millions of dollars. I mean, think of hotels, okay, or large restaurants. Okay, so a restoration franchise, you're going to want financial qualifications of at least $100,000 of liquid non-finance cash and a net worth of $250,000. And it can, go up from there depending on the franchise. But to get into business, and that includes the franchise fee, working capital reserve, and startup costs. So $100,000 with all of that is pretty low on the investment scale for a franchise. Next question, and it will be our last question because of time, is who makes a good owner of a restoration franchise? I'm going to give you a new term. I'm going to tell you about restoration businesses are typically what we call a gray collar franchise. So you'll have white collar customers like homeowners or business owners will be the customer. And then your workers or team members or independent contractors that you hire will be blue collar workers. So when they're white collar customers and blue collar team members, we call that a gray collar business. So someone who's comfortable networking in your community with plumbers, contractors, insurance agents, your referral sources, and also you're good at and enjoy building, leading, and managing a team of blue collar workers. Okay, that is going to be a recipe for success with a restoration franchise. We're now out of time. I'm going to thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the Franchise Minute. Come back next week when we're going to talk about cleaning franchises, another favorite of mine. Thanks so much. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. See you next week.